Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry coming to you from three socially distant separate studios. We bring you another candidate in our Blue Wave series. Before we get to that, to our candidate, I want to tell you to find all of our previous episodes at heartlandmamas.com, on all podcast platforms, on Demcast USA, and of course, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Marie, would you like to introduce our candidate for today?
I would love to. Today, we're moving west from Illinois into the Great Red Divide, and we're going to Iowa, southwest Iowa, with our gentleman for the 6th Senate District in Iowa, Mr. CJ Petersen. Hi,
Hi there.
CJ.
Hi
How
there.
are you?
Hi there, Murray. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for being on our show. I guess people may not understand where exactly that is. If you're from Michigan, you do the Uber thing. And where's the best way to help our listeners understand geographically where you are?
Yeah. So actually, if you take the state of Iowa and you make it a rectangle, you take about you cut it into thirds. My district kind of goes along that western line where that's between the first and the second third in Iowa would be,
Okay.
if you want to kind of look at it that way. And it's five counties, from north to south, one a little bit to the west, but it's about a 3 hour drive from the top of the district to the bottom. So it's one of the largest geographic districts in the state senate. So
And speaking of driving, we're doing this from your car, which has great sound amazing. Thank you. Because, guys, I want you to know one of the things that's cool about doing what we do, especially as we get closer to an election, is it gets a chance to see candidates' life, what it's like to be running for office. And both,
yeah,
our listeners know Heidi and I both ran, so we understand we work in politics. But CJ's actually out delivering signs
Yes.
all across this very vast geographic area for his supporters, which I think is pretty cool.
We know what it's like to wear multiple hats when running for office, CJ. So, CJ,
yeah.
tell us all about yourself. What is it that you do now? What have you done in the past, and why are you running for office?
Yeah, so I actually grew up about it. Actually, yeah, the county where I grew up is just outside of this district, so it falls just outside. But I grew up about an hour from where I live now, and I live in Templeton, Iowa, which is where the famous Templeton rye is manufactured. If you've ever heard of that, but um,
Oh, I have, yeah.
it's actually manufactured across the street from where we Luke and I
Wow.
share, bought a home. But anyway, so they call that the good stuff. But anyway, um, I don't partake anymore because as you may know from looking at my website or my bio or any of my campaign videos, actually I spent most of my 20s in a battle with alcoholism.
Oh,
And
wow.
my story is not unique in Iowa or across the country. There are a lot of folks who have struggled, and you probably can't find a person out there who hasn't been touched by the struggle of addiction or alcoholism.
Right.
It's a terrible disease, and I'm lucky that I made it out onto the other side. But that experience, I think, gives me a unique perspective, and from which I'm able to understand the ins and outs and the complexities of some of these healthcare issues that really inspired me to run in the first place. So, um, I am I'm a sixth generation Iowan. I happen to be I'm the first you know generation of my family not to be Catholic anymore, but an Episcopalian. But
Yay! I gotta tell
um,
you, cheers, man. I'm a recovering Catholic too.
I
I'm
am
a
too.
recovering Irish Catholic, which is
Oh,
worse
okay.
than Roman Catholic. So,
Yeah. No,
peace,
and
brother. I get you.
well,
I
and
got you,
and
man.
we're Episcopalians now, which means we move down the street and we lost the guilt, but we still do all the pageantry. So
Right.
it's very very all the pageantry, none of the guilt,
Oh, I say that all the
but
time too, CJ.
but as Episcopalians, we still we're able to maintain our faith, and we're going to be
Mhm.
married in our church, and
Oh,
we were
lovely.
actually supposed to get married next week, but we postponed the wedding by a year because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
But Anyway, so long story short, here I am running for office with that experience, that life experience. As far as what I do now, I'm actually a salesman. I sell home warranties, which is not the most. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not but it pays the bills, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do out here. So we do what we have to do to pay the bills. So
Right. You know, CJ, in reading your bio, I know economics is a core issue in your campaign. And Murray and I spent a lot of time in Southwest Iowa. We came down for the caucuses and got to know the Southwest Iowa Democrats and the other people in that area. And the thing that struck me was all the empty towns. You drive through little towns with empty storefronts where you can see that people are clearly commuting out of their area to work. You see a lot of people on the edge. Poverty has really hit the heartland hard. And we met farmers out there that are struggling from the tariffs, that are struggling from the ethanol waivers, that are multiple generation farmers that are concerned about the economics in your area. So, can you talk about some of your economic policy for your campaign?
yeah, so one of the first things that you'll probably learn about me if you go to my website, there's an intro video there where I talk about my grandparents, and I talk with my hands because my grandparents were deaf, and
Oh,
I'm hearing impaired, and my grandparents owned and operated a small business. They were bookbinders for 50 years. And bookbinding is a trade that no longer,
exists.
most
Exist.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, kids today won't really know what that is because we don't read our books in pages anymore. We read them on tablets or screens, Um,
Right.
but they owned and operated a small business for a long time, and that shop could have been turned into something different. It could have been expanded into other types of manufacturing, or we could have done other things with that business and or continued it.
Mm.
Um, but when my grandparents chose to retire, there was nobody to take over, and they just kind of it just closed, and so there was another empty storefront, and it's still empty there in Atlantic where I grew up. And so
Wow.
I have a I have firsthand experience with seeing something that you love or a place that you love to frequent, or a business that was built with love and hard work and compassion, and you see it go away, and then it's just an empty storefront, and you just drive by it, and then your town's just a place where people pass through to get
Right.
to the city.
The
And
the flyover country has become the drive-through country for so much of the Great Red Divide. It's we don't talk about the economics in the heartland that impacts families like yours, multiple, 6 generations of living in Iowa, and I'm sure that they had lots of different jobs and have seen so many changes. So, what is your ideas as far as bringing economics or economic level back up there in your area?
yeah, so one of the things that I'm running on, and running on very strongly, is a business succession plan. And there's already money that's allocated by USDA for rural development
Right.
in communities like ours. And so um, those grants can be applied for, but also there's money that can be allocated if it's spent correctly. We're already spending money on economic development, right? So
Right.
we've already got local option sales taxes and those types of items. So all it would take is a reallocation of some of those resources that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to raise anybody's taxes. We don't have to, find the revenue because the money's already there for it.
Right.
We can take some of that money and put it into low interest or no interest loans that would be for entrepreneurs who want to. It's a business succession. So you're really just you're passing the baton from one business owner to a younger entrepreneur who wants to take over. And the only thing they would have to do, it's no different than maybe an AmeriCorps Vista that goes into an urban area and teaches, or a rural area and teaches.
Right.
You give you require that they would spend some time, um, an X number of years operating this business,
Mm-hmm.
or they have to pay off, complete the terms of the loan. And
Right.
and it's a really simple and easy, but also somewhat, I guess maybe it's creative, I don't know, but it's an interesting way to continue to make sure that we have that storefront open. So the first thing we need to do is we always talk about bringing new businesses to town, but the only businesses that come to town are Walmart that sucks everything off Main Street even
Right.
more, right? So we got to stop the bleeding before we can uh, pretend that everything's going to be okay around here. So we got to stop the bleeding, and the way we stop the bleeding is by making sure those businesses aren't shutting in the first place, because it's a lot harder to start a business than it is to take over an existing one.
Absolutely.
And
Definitely.
there's a restaurant in my town, Templeton, that just closed, and they said they'd love to find a buyer, but nobody wants to buy it. And everybody in town now loves to talk about how they wish that business was open,
Yeah.
but nobody had the capital available to start it or to continue.
Right.
And so with a plan, with my business succession plan, or apprenticeship programs like I'd like to implement through the Iowa Department of Economic Development, we could have kept that, but we could have saved that business. We could have said, hey, we'll bring somebody in who wants to, who has the skills to run a business,
Right.
and But anyway, so I know you have another question probably, so I'm going to let you talk for a minute. So.
No,
But this is
I really love
I think that's
that plan.
fantastic. I love the plan. I
Yeah.
really do. I think that makes a lot of sense. Utilizing what is already there and
Mhm.
reallocating, which I think is a big part of the central crux of our division as a nation, aside from all of the rhetoric and classism and racism and everything else that's out there in the universe. One of the things I think is that having a new approach to something is
Well,
terrifying to people.
yeah.
So, we're so used to doing the same things over and over. So when we have a crisis, Congress and our legislators, they fall back to old patterns, right? They fall back to throwing money to stimulate the economy, to bailing out banks. And instead of thinking forward of what this choice we're making is going to do 6 months or 2 years down the line, they're reacting, which Heidi and I talk a lot about the reaction versus
Reactionary
proactive.
politics.
And what I
right,
really
right.
like,
Well,
CJ, is that you're proactive, that
Mhm.
this is thinking out long term and the benefit in the long run, which not enough candidates or legislators think about.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, if you think of it from this perspective, so there's a story that I heard, I read in a book. There's a couple named Frank and Kim Spillers. They run a podcast called Rural Community Solutions, and they do a lot of great work. And there's a book that they wrote called The Be Wuka Way, and Wuka is be welcoming, understanding, comforting, and appreciative, and
Right.
appreciate people. So you welcome, understand, comfort, and appreciate someone, and that's how you collaborate and you build coalitions and get things done. And one of the stories that is in the book is there's an old man, and he does his laundry, right, and he goes and takes the laundry out of the washing machine and puts it out on the clothesline. He comes into the kitchen, looks out the window, and he thinks, oh my gosh, my laundry's still dirty, and he gets mad, so he brings it back in and he puts it back in the washing machine, takes it back out to the clothesline, looks out the kitchen window, and the laundry is still dirty, right? So he gets mad. So he gets really frustrated. So he runs to the hardware store, buys an entire new washing machine, throws a load of laundry in, does another load of laundry, takes it back out to the clothesline, looks out the window, and by golly, that laundry is still dirty. And so he's ranting, he's raving, he's saying a lot of words that we're not allowed to say on the air, and his wife comes up and says, "Hold on, honey, hold on," and she goes out with a ladder and she gets up on the ladder and she wipes the window clean, the kitchen window clean on the other side of the window. And she says, now look at the window. And he looks
Yeah.
outside and his laundry is clean.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
so what that tells me is that our perspectives or our ideas about what we can do or what we can change is often colored by the window we're looking through. And when we are raised here in these communities where things have been done the same way for decades, we've got good old boys who have been in power. They don't want newcomers. People don't leave, and I say boys. There are some of them that are women, but most of
Mhm.
them are boys.
Yeah, we
Oh,
know.
And
we know.
We know.
and no, I know you know. And so so many people don't leave towns. They don't leave here because it's not beautiful. It is. They leave people. They leave the way that they're treated.
Right.
And if we're not making everyone part of the solution, then we can't ask them to help us solve the problem. And
Yeah.
so the good news is, and I say this all the time, there's nothing wrong here that can't be fixed by what's right here.
Very
And so
good.
that's
That is a
that's
great line, CJ. Is that your
that's the good
campaign
news.
line?
That is. That
Oh my
is.
gosh, I didn't
That's
see
the
that.
good
I
news.
love that. Repeat that again for me.
There's nothing wrong here that can't be fixed by what's right here.
I totally agree.
CJ4Iowa.com. There is nothing wrong here that can't be fixed by what is right here. That is probably my favorite campaign slogan of the 2020 season. Well done, sir. Well done.
You know, Murray and I only
Thank you.
saw your area from the outside looking in, and we 100% agree with you. The flavors and colors and the beauty, the things that are purely that part of the country, that part of where you live, are all the things that are right and can revitalize your area with the right hand on the tiller, with the right direction, and with thinking through a clean window. And I think you make an excellent point with that story.
So we have appreciated having you on the show so much, CJ. What we're hoping to do is do a recap late September before early voting really gets rocking and have you pop in for a little bit to tell us how it's going. Will you come back and see us again?
Well, you know what? The window I'm looking through is pretty clear, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable about that. But yes, I'd love to come back on and chat with you, and
Yeah.
we will. We'll work together going forward, and maybe we'll do the podcast from the Iowa Capitol next January.
Oh, I sure hope so, CJ.
That would be awesome! We would love that.
Now, CJ,
So, guys, please,
yeah,
anyone who's listening, before Heidi, I'm so sorry, Heidi,
yeah.
for all of you who are listening, make sure that you go out there and go to cj4iowa.com. Even if you don't live in CJ's district, that's okay. I'm quite certain that he would love donations,
Mhm.
and he could probably use some folks to make phone calls.
Yes.
So go to CJ4 Iowa. Definitely. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Heidi.
Well,
I
what
just wanted to give him another plug.
I was going to ask him if he had any fundraisers coming up. Do you have a place for people to donate on your site? Because we know that you need votes, you need volunteers, you need somebody else putting out
You
those
need
signs,
money.
and you need money. So,
Yes.
so there's a place for
Yep.
people to sign up.
Yeah, so we've actually outraised we outraised my Republican opponent by 6 times last fundraising period. So we have the
That
money
is amazing, CJ.
we have the money to run ads, and my opponent does not. So we want to run as many ads as we can. So cj4iowa.com, click on the contribute button. We're a people
If
powered
y'all
campaign.
don't give him at least $5, I'm gonna be mad.
Just throw in
Come on.
$5. Add a couple of zeros if you can. I mean, Iowa
How
doesn't.
about 60? Because you're in the sixth
Yeah.
district, right?
Hey, that would be
Six,
fantastic. Throw in six
16,
bucks.
26. Donate.
Yep, whatever works. So,
Mhm.
but definitely appreciate you ladies, you mamas having me on. It's always you don't want to get in the way of a mama and the things she loves. So
Yeah.
I really
For
I know
sure.
y'all love I know y'all both love the people of the United States of America and especially
Yeah.
rural America, and then I really appreciate everything you're doing for all of us to give us a platform and a voice. So
Oh, thank
Thank you.
you.
That's so sweet. CJ, I can't imagine a better person to lift up your area of the world. You know,
Agreed.
it's you're willing to lift it up, not just lift it up, but carry it to the finish line, and that's a really remarkable. That's a really remarkable thing in any person, and especially in a candidate. So thank you so much for being on today. We're going to have all CJ's information on our Facebook page and social media a little bit later today, and I appreciate you coming in. And so please find us at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, and we'll see you later. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care now. Bye
Thank
bye.
thank
you.
you again for having me.
Bye bye.
CJ4Iowa.com. Bye bye.
Bye bye.